Thank you very much. Um, let's see. Yes, in my slides, I do not explain why I think our hamster is INFP, but if I could start off with that, we've had four hamsters, and most notably, we had one hamster who was, definitely ESTJ. So this hamster was very organized. I mean, she always we all four of our hamsters were girls, females. We had one hamster who always put the food in the same place. Always, she was very organized. And that was our previous hamster. And then compared to this one, this one is very flexible indeed. So she changes her sleeping area and her feeding area. And sometimes the cage door is open. She won't even notice. So, so based on the experience, we think that she is INFP. Um, we think that she is the most easygoing hamster of all four. But yes, but our brain cap is too big to fit her. So I have not been able to measure that. Um, okay, so I would like to start with sharing my slides. And in typical intuitive fashion, sorry, the translation is happening? Okay. So in typical intuitive fashion, my whole slide, all my slides, what I was going to present on today was decided like 30 seconds finally. Well, not even decided. So 30 seconds before I was supposed to meet with Lionel, I finished. And so I don't know what's going to happen today. So it will be a surprise to me as well. So we'll see how it goes. And I did tell Lionel, if I do seem frozen or jumbled up, please just jump in at any time because I don't know what's going on either. But anyways, um, so please let me start. So this is this is me, Harumi, and a family picture. This is my husband, who is ISTP, and my daughters, second daughter, ESTP, and INFP. And around when my older daughter was around 3, I first really got into personality type. And based on just, observing her, I did type her as INFP. And when she reached age 8, I sat her down with the slides and she also selected those letters for herself, INFP. She's now going to turn 18 and she does agree with those letters. Both my daughters also know about the functions, the cognitive functions. So they also agree that which one is their dominant, and we talk about it all the time. So and I would say that actually my ESTP daughter, um, even from when she was in my womb, she was very extremely active. So yeah, and it was I'm pretty sure it's Elizabeth Murphy or Mary McGinnis, who are also long time type practitioner veterans. One of them was also saying, yeah, even from inside the womb, extroverted sensors, ESP, they're very active. And I totally noticed the difference between the INFP in my womb and the ESTP in my womb. Just very different from from a very early age. Um, So I was raised in the United States, and and then my husband, who's ISTP, he decided that he wanted to move to Japan. So um, we did move when my older daughter was 3 years old, and yeah, often visitors and tourists when they come to Japan, they love it. They're like, oh, it's such a beautiful country. The people are so nice. I think coming to Japan is on the bucket list of so many people, right? Like one time I want to go to Japan. It seems so magical, blah, 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 blah. I hear that all the time. Um, so that's the visitor or tourist uh experience of Japan. But people who live in Japan, they're like, oh my God. It's not that. wonderful and magical as it looks like when you're a tourist, when you're just visiting for a couple of weeks. And yeah, living in Japan is a very different thing from just visiting. For example, there is, and I didn't know this. Um, but did you know that there is a correct way to ride the escalator? You you have to well, it's always in Tokyo at least, it's always on the left side, and you put your hand on the bar and you look straight ahead. There's a correct way to walk down the street. You don't just walk around. You're always aware that someone might pass at any moment. There's a correct way to greet the doctor. I didn't know all this when I first showed up to Japan. Even when you enter the doctor's office, you have to be like, "Yoroshiku onegaishimasu." Whereas when I was sick, I would just show up and be like, "I'm sick." So when I first landed in Japan, I wasn't fitting in, and I didn't realize it. So I have a yeah. Oh, sorry. So yeah, there was this one photo that hit social media a couple years ago. These are new grads who are trying to get a job, and then someone was saying, "Oh my God, they all look the same." Um, even though Corona was finished, many years ago, well, not many years ago, but three or 4 years ago, many people in Japan, they are still wearing masks. And yeah, there's a physical mask, but also there's the psychological mask. Um, so yeah, so just to show my timeline, so I first arrived in Japan, and in my heart, I felt American, but I look Japanese. But yeah, I didn't feel Japanese. And I could tell people are not pleased with me, but I couldn't really understand why. But anyways, I was living and surviving in Japan, and then I enrolled my daughter in kindergarten. And then yeah, I would have these experiences where I'm like, there's something not right here. I'm not really sure what was going on. I couldn't really understand myself. So there were certain experiences that I was having. And then my daughter was in kindergarten, and then oops. Oh, actually, sorry. I think I need to refresh my screen. Give me one moment, please. Oopsies. Sorry, I have to refresh to make sure the images are uploading.
You need to share it again because we don't see it
Yes,
anymore. Yeah.
yes, just refreshed and sharing now. Okay. So, yes. Yeah, so there was one. I was at the local bakery, and in this bakery, what you do is, there's so many rules that we don't know about. But I've been going to this bakery for a couple of years, so I knew you stand in a straight line, and then if you want to take bread, then you quickly take it and get back in line. But generally, you stay in line until the cash register. And then, so one day I was there and I knew the rules. There was this one lady that was like, and a lot of times I see kind of foreign people or people who are not used to the bakery making a mess, and then people are all like glaring at the person. So I'm like, oh, I was trying to be helpful, and I was like, you have to stand in line and then you get the bread. I was explaining it to her, and then she started getting upset, and I couldn't understand. And I just, no, 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 I'm just trying to explain the rules to you. And then finally, what happened was the woman behind me. So this woman's Japanese, and the woman behind me said she just told the woman that I was trying to explain the rules to. She's like, just ignore her. She's a weirdo. So in Japanese, like, 無視したらいいよ。この人変な人だよ。変な人. This word 変な人 means this person is a weirdo. And that was it matched what I had been experiencing, that I was not conforming. But I was yeah, I was completely shocked, and I realized like it just at that time I didn't really know type, but what I was hitting up against was that Japan, I believe it is an ISFJ country. Some people experience it as ISTJ, but it is an ISJ country, and the first thing you need to do when you are born is to conform to the norms. That's what, you can do things later. You can become yourself later, but at least in the beginning, you must conform to the norms. You must fulfill your duty. You must fulfill your responsibility, fulfill your role. So that's the first thing that you need to do. And I did not get that. I just was not reading that at all. But when I realized with a shock that I was not fitting in, it just like totally hit me like, oh my God, I am not fitting in. And yeah, so it matched up with what was going on when I would go to the kindergarten too. So I was like, oh my God, and I didn't really speak the language either. Like I was probably spoke like 30% Japanese. I mean, 30%, like 30% level of Japanese. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have the language. And I'm obviously not fitting in as at all. So what I did was I was like, okay, maybe if I can figure out people's personality type, then it would be a way to fit in or to begin to understand what is going on. So what I did was I went to the US for about 2 weeks and I got certified in MBTI. And then from there, yeah, I started to teach type, learn type, and that was how I started to learn Japanese as well. And that was how I learned to understand the culture and as well as type. So, and it was also at that time that I had a kind of a image, like a very hazy image, but an image um, s- of a community where we could talk about type and then growth and sharing. It was very fuzzy still, but I could see that image. So that was my first step. Like, oh, it was a good step. And then yeah, that was when I first started encountering type and it was fun. There was lots of laughing and like, oh, ENFJ or that's how we are, and it was very fun. But then what began to happen, so it was like oh, I want to do this as a living. So it was like walking down a nice path. Nice, my journey, my type journey. But then what happened is people started to, I was teaching for a couple years. Then I encountered my first wall. And what would happen is people were crying during the sessions, or they would get upset, they would get angry, or they would stop coming. So the numbers started dropping. And I couldn't figure out why. I mean, I didn't know what's going on. I didn't understand why type wasn't fun anymore. It really wasn't fun anymore. And what I see now is that I encountered the four-letter type, but actually, the four letters or MBTI code is just the tip of the iceberg, right? There's this whole other part of us. And yeah, I started encountering the shadow side, my own shadow, other people's shadows, the group's shadow. And that's when I understood that, or not, I didn't understand it, but it was a process of realizing that it's not just about the four letters, but it's a lot deeper than that. The cognitive functions. And when I encountered the first day heard about the function, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is what the missing piece. But that also started this whole tunnel. Eh, I mean, I still continue to find myself in this tunnel, but before it was like this bright, vision or like, oh, I want to do this. This is fun. But then once I kind of found my mission of what I need to do, then it was this experience of going into a black tunnel where there's no light ahead. There's no light. Yeah, I didn't even know. Is there an exit or where's the light? There's no light. It's completely dark. And that was a very it was not this, I was showing you this picture of this like nice sunny path. It wasn't like that at all. It was this black tunnel, and the process is like climbing uphill. Um, yeah. So even inviting people and saying, oh, and being told like, oh, sorry, I can't make it today, things like that. Is very hurtful. It's a very painful experience because I thought it was great. I thought I was doing great, but they would not want to come anymore. And so I think this is a common journey that we all have, where it's fun in the beginning and then and then there's this wall. And so what I started doing is up until that time I was inviting people to like this month we're doing it on this day. Can you please come? And then what I realized is that instead of doing one session, inviting each time, it's better to do a course so that if they pay upfront, they already paid, so they have to keep coming. You know, so if it's not just learning about, one letter, but all all functions. And so that was very difficult to tell people it's a course, not just like a one-time session. But I decided that's what I had to do, and so I started to do that. And then this is also the time when, yeah, people are starting to come to my session, and this is when the Japanese MBTI contacted me. So the Japanese MBTI Association actually, they didn't contact me directly. They contacted the US MBTI organization, CAPT, and they reported me. And and then the American mothership the lawyer contacted me and said, yeah, and then yeah, they sent this letter saying a lot of things, but they talked to the person who certified me. They they contacted a bunch of people to show like, what you're doing is incorrect, things like that. And then they said you have to. So when I did call the lawyer, she said, "Oh, well, you're actually going to have to talk to the Japanese organization." And when I talked to the Japanese organization, what I found out is they wanted me to get certified in the Japanese association. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. But then when I read the instructions, I realized that the work that I was starting to do, which is learning the functions and archetypal energies and all the shadow work, I was like, I don't think it's going to fit with, the proper MBTI establishment. So I decided not to get certified with the Japanese established organization. And then what I decided to do is that if I wanted to keep doing what I was doing, I would have to establish another separate organization. And I would have to create my own kind of foundation to protect the work that I wanted to do, which is, not just the four-letter type, but to go into, shadow work and experimenting with that. And so it also um, took a different kind of mindset, but I decided to establish Type Lab in 2018, which is an NPO organization. It's a mother's type organization. And yeah, we do monthly type gatherings. Part of that journey, one of the biggest challenges that I found was learning to speak the sensor language. That was incredibly difficult. Instead of speaking abstractly, to speak concretely, to give examples. I always wanted to change my slides. I wanted to make better slides, but I needed to stop doing that. I needed to learn to tell stories. I needed to speak chronologically, and then I also needed to learn to build with and work with a team. So that was incredibly difficult. But yeah, throughout this process, it was developing endurance to keep going. So it's like I realized, it's uphill climbing in a tunnel. But one of the biggest things that I continue to do is to not give up. Just keep going. Just believe, keep believing, and just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep inviting people. Just keep doing the sessions. And through that process, yeah, developing the endurance, developing the muscle to just keep going. And yeah, slowly the Type Lab started to grow. We have a board which has 5 people, trainer team of 17, trainees is about 4, staff, 193 members. Um, in 2025, we ran 336 sessions. In 2024, we had 348. So we're a very busy organization. So, this is just this year. I just got the data like 15 minutes ago. But yeah, 30 events, 101. Oh, sorry, I can't see the top, but yeah, if you can. So each month with our team, we do events with people. Um, yeah, and then in 2018, oh, sorry. Yeah, we decided to certify people. So now we had a team who could start also teaching and training. And then yeah, we've been doing. So yeah, the importance. So in the beginning, it was just me doing everything by myself. But then I realized in order to scale, in order to help really spread type, I need to help others to go up the hill as well. It's not just like me and building my own endurance, but in order to kind of build a mountain, you have to help others up the hill. That in itself was a challenge. But then at that time, after I started doing the certification, I met my second wall, which was that it has to be sustainable. So we were doing things I was doing things at a very, very cheap price at NPO prices, and that just was not sustainable. And so I met my second wall, and that's when I realized that just doing things on a nonprofit level, I was getting lots of experience, and the team was gathering, and people were starting to come, but it was not financially sustainable. So that's when I realized that I needed to build this separate organization that is, a business to be sustainable. So that's when I started 16 Type. Any questions? Because I think I skipped a lot on what I actually did, but before I go into when it started to get easier, I wanted to, I don't know if this story is making sense.
Si vous avez des questions, vous pouvez soit les poser dans le chat ou allumer votre micro et les poser directement. Apparemment, pas de questions.
Okay.
Ah,
Okay.
si, il y a une remarque de Jean-Luc Dupont qui dit I was
Oh,
convinced Japan was an
mm,
INTJ type of culture.
yeah. Oh, I do not think that Japan is an INTJ type. May I state my reasons? Okay.
Well,
Well,
the
first,
reason I'm
yes.
asking this question is because
Okay.
we often hear about long-term vision of
Mm,
typical Japanese companies that they
okay.
invest with a very long-term perspective. That's the reason
Mm,
why I saw it was an INTJ type
mm,
of culture.
yes. Yes. Well, I think perhaps the founder was had the vision, and they had the vision, and then once the vision is set, then all the employees fall in line. They don't question it, and they just keep going. Like my image of ISTJ, I think the typical company employee behavior is ISTJ, and my image of ISTJ is a cog in a machine, right? The INTJ visionary founder might say, "This is the vision," but then all the employees are expected to, it's called manual dori, according to the manual, no questions asked. So, like for example, but these are there is a one INTJ woman who is in our team, and she said from a young age she did not. I mean, she knew she wasn't fitting in. She wasn't sure why, but everything she did, it was incorrect. I do find that a lot of INTJs tend to have low self-esteem in Japan because, you know, um, the SI, conforming to societal norms, conforming to those social expectations. That's what you need to do. And they're like, why do I need to do that? I don't want to do that. And then once someone does that, do you know this phrase about Japan, the nail that sticks out gets hit down? Have you heard that phrase? there's this phrase in Japanese where if you're a nail that sticks out, you will get hit down by a hammer. You need to conform. And it's been interesting for me when I go to my own children's you can observe the classroom. And for me, it's so routinized. You don't question things, you just learn, and then you write it down, no questions asked. And and then several ISTJs and ISFJs have told me, their school experience was perfect. They loved it. They just need to do exactly what was told to them, and then, no questions asked, this kind of thing. Does that There's other many reasons that I do think that it's an SI culture, not an NI culture. It might have been that many years ago, many hundreds of years ago, but I do not find that anymore. Now it's like an American military. And so I think that people who do not, I think people who do not have, who are not the SJ type, they struggle a lot in Japan because it's like, why do I need to do that? It's not fun. I'm not, it's not fun. You just follow the rules, you ride the escalator, behave like a robot, actually. And that was one of the things that I struggled with too when I showed up. We have to behave like robot. Don't show our feelings, just be well-mannered and well-behaved child. And sometimes it could be very like uh um crushing of the personality. And I think that's one of the reasons why the MBTI did not spread in Japan. MBTI was translated for the first time in 1968 into Japanese. It was the first foreign language translation of the MBTI. And companies tried to use it. Actually, INTJ guy was trying to spread it. But I think companies didn't want that. They didn't want, individual employees expressing their personalities. Now it's becoming more like we have to do it because just this following this structure and order is not working anymore. So anyway, those are some of my reasons.
Actually, I have a question. I read somewhere
Yes.
that one of the reasons why MBTI was not so popular
Okay.
is that there were other type personality models used, like one based on a blood type, I think.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us a few things about it?
Oh, yes. I have a couple opinions. So I hope I don't forget my opinions. One is there is this one assessment that is quite popular with companies even now. But a little bit more. It was more popular before, but it was how well does this how well will this employee fit into our company culture? That's what it was really assessing, right? It's not who is this person, but will this person fit into our culture or not kind of assessment. And another thing is, yeah, blood type. I do think that the Japanese culture does like these kind of assessments because of the strong conformity rules. So I experience this all the time, like especially at the mail post office. I especially experience it at the post office. So I'm Japanese. I look like Japanese, but I show up myself, and then a lot of post office employees, I feel like they're SJ types, but they look at me and they immediately narrow their eyes. Like people who know, they know right away there's something wrong with this person. This person is not a conformed person. And then I can see their eyes narrow with judgment. And so if I tell them I'm Japanese American, then they'll be like, okay. So I think things like blood type, they do like to know why is this person not conforming. So if they like, oh, this person didn't grow up in Japan, or this person is AB blood type, or this person is not from Tokyo, as soon as they know that, then they become forgiving. So the reason why also foreigners and tourists have such a great experience in Japan is Japanese people are like, this person is not Japanese, so let's just treat them with care. But if you are Japanese, then you gotta conform. That so yeah, the big rule is conforming. Once you're a conformed person, then you could start to show more of your personality, but still it's within the realm of conformity. Yeah. Is that what do you think, Lena?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, but they like the classification of things and people. So so expect is my time okay? Okay. Oh yes, and I'm almost at the end of my presentation. Oh, do you feel like oh, this is Ben from the Philippines. I know him from LinkedIn. He said, "So Harumi, do you feel like you're odd more because you're an ENFJ, or is it the fact that you came from America?" Hi, yes. Um, I think that it's a big part of it is cultural. Um, I also do think that I'm very feeling oriented. My feelings come up quite quickly, which the Japanese society prefers for people not to express too much. Like it comes out in my expressions a lot. Like very quickly, I'll be like, "What? Huh?" You know, they don't like that. Um, so am I odd because I'm ENFJ? Yeah, because I grew up in the United States, I'm much more expressive. I've and I've met a lot of ENFJs raised in Japan, and I would say that they're a lot nicer than me, or polite. Sorry. They're more polite than me. Like even if they're inside, they're like, what? They don't easily express it as well. But for me, my face is very expressive of whatever I'm feeling. So that has not been good for me societally. So what I try to do is I try to cover that up, but sometimes it comes out. But people also see it as charming, but not everyone. If I answered your question, Ben. Benedict, right? Benedict. Okay, thanks for answering the question. Yes. Yes, but in general, J Japan doesn't like too much feeling expression. Right. So to continue, yeah, so in 2021, well, around 2019, yeah, I really started to feel the wall of this is not sustainable. How is this going to, in terms of finances, how am I going to keep running this? Um, and so yeah, all these steps that I'm doing where I would push through these walls. I think I was doing things that a typical ENFJ wouldn't do. Like a typical ENFJ might keep doing things for a very low price, not want to charge people. It's okay, you can come. But but I realized that I needed to break through that pattern that I have. So I had to change my mindset completely from a nonprofit mindset to a business mindset. And that's when I established 16 Type, which is a company. And then that's when yeah, I could I what I did was I raised my prices 3,000%. I mean in steps, but at this time, yes, well from my original session price, I have raised it 3,000%. Um, and that was certainly a challenge, but that was a step to, running bigger sessions at corporate prices. Um, last year, we did a number of sessions with quite some big companies, including the eBay Japan team. And the team who had the trainers who were gaining experience in Type Lab and Theo community, they were at a level where, the eBay, when they finished the workshop, the top manager said, this is the most, in Japanese, but this is the most fun training we've ever done. So yeah, it was a lot of I was not there. I've intentionally not gone to sessions to let them handle it. Um, And so what we've been able to do is so there's the NPO community, which is Type Lab, and moms join there to join for their own self-learning and understanding. And then when they become trainers and they gain enough experience, then they can start doing corporate training. So it's building this ecosystem. And Type Lab, what we've also been able to do is not a lot, but start doing some work with schools and other NPOs. So yeah, creating this um, ecosystem. And this is where it's running a business, running a profit, but then also making sure that there's social impact, changing the the lives of mothers who can also, um, you know, start to uh, um, get paid at a rate that they would not normally be able to do. And so, yeah, keep running. Sustainability. Um, so yeah, it was incredibly difficult to start the company, but I decided, okay, this is what I need to do. This is the next step that I need to do. And yeah, start going forward. And then in 2024, we were able to run Type in Tokyo, which was an international conference. And some of the people on our team, they had never even spoken to a foreigner before, only Japanese. So it was quite um, huge experience for them, it's a life altering kind of experience. But we ran Type in Tokyo in 2024 April. So this is a group photo there. You might recognize some people, like this is Sue Blair, uh, Dario Nardi, Terry Connellan, President Ossept, there's a few others. Adrian Mangio is living in France. And then in well, there's a lot of things that happened, but one of the biggest things that has made the business a lot easier was a publishing company, a very well-known publishing company called Gentosha, Japanese publishing company, contacted me and then asked, they did a lot of research on, who would be able to publish on 16 type and not bump up against the MBTI wall. And then we did the research and then they contacted me and I wrote the book and it was published last April. So Type in Tokyo was in April 2024. And then my book was published in April 2025. And then it was reprinted this year in February. I'm like shocked. I'm always shocked that people buy books, but apparently people are buying the books. And since then, um, yeah, I really, yeah, it's definitely an uphill climb, but having the community, and I wanted to quit maybe 10,000 times, but because of the team, right, having a team there, not just because they're like relying on me, but also, um, when I'm struggling, I'll tell them and we can talk about it. I mean, having that support, having that tribe there, being able to be who I am, also having difficult conversations, it has helped my mental health. Um, yeah, and given my life real purpose and meaning. That has that has been one of the biggest reasons why the uphill climb was possible. And then also getting a book. Getting a book published was also made things a lot easier in Japan. Being able to say like, okay, Gentosha published this book. It's like, ooh. And this happened this week, but there's a very famous national women's magazine that almost everybody knows. And they did contact me 2 weeks ago. I think they knew about my book. So they bought my book and then they asked me to do the interview. So just this week, yeah. If you go to any store or bookstore, you can buy this magazine, and inside that magazine there's a special section about 16 type that is based on my book and an interview. So yeah, I've talked about the glacier, but yeah, I thought it was a path. But then once I started, I realized, oh my gosh, it's like climbing Mount Everest. Um, Yes. So some of the activities that we do a monthly type cafe, which is not like a heavy session, but it's just like drinking coffee together or eating lunch together and just talking about type. Um, we also did a train. So this is the photo from June 23rd, so this month, right? Yeah. And this is a train the trainer where we go deep with studying the functions with people who know the functions. That was really fun, going deep into the content. We also did a field trip. So the ways that we and the cool thing is one of the coolest things about our community is that the Tokyo branch, we have 3 branches, but a Tokyo branch, we all live within 15 to 20 minutes bike ride from each other. So we go to school together, we get massages together, or people massage us, or it's a physical community. So we were able to do a field trip, a Tokyo field trip. And yeah, a cool thing is the more I get to know people through the lens of type, the more I get to know people, the more I engage with someone, I like them even more. That's so cool, right? A lot of times it's like, oh, the more I got to know her, I didn't want to get to know her anymore, things like that. But it's like the more, then I want to spend endless times together. So that has been really amazing. That trip. Yeah, so we have a bunch of things happening, but we do like a beginner course, advanced course, the monthly type sessions, monthly type cafe. We also collaborate with other organizations. 16 type, what we do is our main bread and butter is the company trainings. And then what we've started doing from this year is to do the EEG scans, and that's been amazing to watch, to see Japanese type brain patterns, and then, you know, there's also like European or American brain patterns. That's interesting. And then another thing that we're challenging this year is singles events, because people always ask like, what type do you think I should marry? But doing 16 type and single events, and we haven't sealed a contract yet, but Japan has a huge marriage problem. So the government runs these marriage support centers, and we've gotten 2 inquiries. We're supposed to do an event with one of them in winter, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're hopeful to have B2G, the business to government contract with supporting the national marriage problem by doing these single events. And finally, sorry, can you hear this? Did you hear that? Did you hear that sound? Oh.
You
Okay.
need to make sure you share the
Okay.
audio also.
Okay.
There is an option you
Let
click
me,
somewhere,
okay. Let me
share your screen
rewind
with
it really quickly.
audio, and that way we'll be able to hear the
Yes.
sound there.
Okay. I wanted to end with a short video of some of our team members. We made a short tribute video for John Beebe's birthday was on July 20th, and to celebrate, BAPT did a tribute to John Beebe, and I wanted to just, we've been doing the translation, but I wanted to make a video on the 8 functions. So, oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear the sound now?
See.
Did you hear that? Great. Okay. So these are the people in the video are all different types, and they're illustrating the functions. So please watch.
See.
NI No
No,
DE
DE, FI,
FI
Any
SI,
FE TI
DI
ジョン
ジョン
ビ
ビー
ーあり
ありが
がとうご
とうござ
ざいま
います
す。
so that is it for me. I have one more video, but anyways, I think I'm running over time. Yes. So that
Um,
is
there are two questions in the chat. The first is from me actually, is for your sessions that you do in companies, corporate sessions, or even with mothers. Do you use the MBTI, or did you develop your own instruments and method to help people find their own type?
yes. We do not have an instrument. What we do is we have slides that we use to walk people through the letters. So we'll explain, introvert, extrovert, and then intuitive sensing, thinking, feeling, and then judging, perceiving, and then activities. So there's a pretty set slide that we use as the basis for the workshops. So usually, yeah, it does take 1.5 hours to 2 hours to do the workshop, but we do not use an instrument. But I think the knowing the letters is important, but we put a lot of emphasis on helping people to take off their masks, right? The psychological mask, because it's quite thick. So it's in the beginning, people are always very stiff, or they don't want to show their real personality, especially if there's a company boss or whoever's the power holder in the room. They kind of, watch to see what they're doing there. So there's a content, but then there is also a heavy emphasis on psychological safety to get people to figure out their type. And you know what? There's people who take years. I mean, probably you all know that as well, but there is one woman who took 7 years to figure out her type. She just really didn't know.
And how do you create that psychological safety? How do you help them drop the mask and be themselves?
Oh, yes. Yes, good question. Yeah, there's many different ways, but sometimes it's just about seeing what's happening and then putting it aside. So sometimes the word is gamang, but it's ignoring the messages that are coming out and putting that aside. Um, it, sometimes we'll have to throw it away completely and say, okay, maybe you can't figure out what you are, but how about the person next to you? Can you see what they are? So you get them to switch the focus from themselves to the other person and like, okay, I can see here. So there's many different ways. But let's see. But that is one of the biggest problems that we do face. The stiffness, the absolute stiffness in the beginning, like the first 30 minutes to 1 hour of getting used to that. I don't know. Is this answering the question?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I don't know how it is in the West, but yeah, in the West it's like people get chatting very quickly, or not in the West, but in non-Japanese communities, I found that sometimes people are talking too much. But in Japan, it's that first ice-breaking time is extremely difficult. So there's different methods that we use, which I haven't really explained. Um, to get people to relax. Like sometimes it's going over to the leader and talking to them directly, or sometimes it's the person next to them. But I think a lot of it is learning to pull out the person through stages. What do you think?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Not really.
Yeah, no, I get an idea
So,
like to
mhm.
defocus people from themselves. I would say to
Yes, that's
focus
one
them on the
method.
person next to them. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Sometimes it's being very direct and saying, yeah, well, the team members, for example, there's this one experience I had where like getting people to vote or there was this experience that I had with a hotel recently, maybe this, but where there was 12 team members and the hotel manager was ENTJ and he sorry, I'm getting kind of humbled, but he yeah, he just couldn't. I think he actually had the whole session because he did not think he was a thinker. And then so we stayed with that. Even just like right now, I'm staying with this question, like, oh, this didn't hit right, so I'm gonna keep going. Um, we stayed with it. And then so finally he's like, okay, who here in this room thinks that I'm a thinker? And then almost everybody raised their hand. And then he's like, okay, fine, let's move on. So I think it's like psychologically uncomfortable sometimes to stay with it, but you just keep going. Like I'm starting to sweat right now, but I'm gonna keep going. What do you think, Leah, now?
Okay, thank you. That's a great
Okay.
idea to do like you explained. Yeah,
Okay.
by
Yes,
having
sorry.
people vote.
Yeah, voting, yeah, or showing examples with cartoons. So when people are not convinced, keep going and then come back later, this kind of thing.
Mhm. Okay.
But sticking with it, yeah, sticking with it.
Okay, thank you. And there is another question from Bruno in the chat. It's in French, so I'm going to translate it. He says, to what extent Japan continues on their individuation path, and to what extent is Japan integrating their shadow functions? And does that help
Ooh,
the mothers that you work with to adapt maybe to
wow.
their life?
Okay. That's a great question. I wish I could see it in English as well. Let's see. What is the first part of the question? The individuation process?
To what extent Japan is continuing on their way to
Yes.
individuation path?
Yes. Okay. Let's see. I think it's what happens with the typical individuation process. People don't want to do it, right? They don't want to do it, and then so they get forced to do it. So right now, Japan is facing huge problems with kids not going to school anymore, or marriage problem happening where people don't want to get married anymore. Young people don't want to meet each other. There's this social phenomenon that has been talked about for decades. It's called hikikomori. Hikikomori is the the people who do not want to leave their houses. So they're reaching their 50s and 60s now, where they just cannot go outside of the house. And I think that is an explosion of not being able to express their individuality and their, personality. Like I said, social conformity is the most important thing that you need to do. So then you stifle your personality. And so people can't leave their houses anymore. People can't date, people can't marry, they can't. There's a huge depression problem. I think this is not just a Japanese thing, but there is a huge mental health problem that's happening because of this high importance on social conformity. People who can't conform, they can't, function in society. So I think that's part of the reason why young people do love personality type. Um, but another problem I'm seeing is that it is becoming a passing phase, right? Because people don't understand the possibilities of personality type. Just the 4-letter type isn't enough. So the importance of going into the functions or understanding your shadow side. So up until now, what Japanese people would do is they would conform during the day and then go this heavy drinking, um, cheating on spouse kind of behavior, and then the explosion, and then that just it's the stifling of the psychology, stifling of the unconscious is no longer becoming possible. And so there's a problem, and so because of that, it's I think being forced to individuate. So there are these different ways that people are trying to figure themselves out. I don't think they're going deep enough with it. So MBTI is just becoming another passing phase, and that's why that's why I am also, it's like uphill climb, because we need to make sure that um whole type development is being taught before the phase goes off. What is the second part of the question?
It was about yeah, does it give I mean, like reading lens to the mothers that you work with? Does
Yes.
it help them
Yes.
adapt consciously to their
Yes.
surrounding?
Yes. Great. Thank you. Yes, with the mothers, I was actually talking to my friend last night who is ISTJ. She's highly skilled. I mean, she's excellent. Um, and she was working at a company. I mean, she's just a very hard worker and a perfectionist. She's ISTJ and I think Enneagram 1, but she's highly skilled, and she has two kids. Our kids are on the same age. And so what I've seen is like a lot of SJ types, especially, it's kind of like their mission, SJ types, to get married, to do the social rules, to get married, have kids. That's their mission. So they're very focused on getting married and have kids. And then once they have kids, they quit work, and then their whole mission is to raise the children, right? And then now her kids are, in junior high, and she doesn't have to be there all the time. So she's she has been working, but she has this huge, like, blank on her resume. So let's see, what am I trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the role of the woman in Japan is to get married and have kids, and then make sure that, she feeds their kids, and then make sure that her keeps her house clean, um and then one woman. So I was talking about this last night with my friend, but also another woman who was ISTJ. She was saying, I felt like when I had kids, society just threw me away, because her whole mission was just to have the kids, but she wanted to work. She's also excellent. And what is the meaning of her life? To have, it's like a womb, just have kids, and then that's it. And she's like, I was expected by society to fulfill this role, but once I fulfilled the role, then I'm thrown away. And so it is difficult to find meaning and value when all you need to do is just, have, sorry, my answer. So yeah, I find mothers in Japan, yeah, have a lot of trouble finding their own personal value as a person. And then what happens is you have a lot of people who feel like that, and then their whole value is on if their husbands get promoted, or if their kids get into good schools. So then there's a lot of pressure on the husband and the kids to perform as well, because the mothers, who are, very intelligent people, their whole value is not from what they do, but how the people around them perform. So there's a cycle of unhappiness, and then the kids can't go to school anymore, and um so yeah, as a mother myself, it is incredibly difficult to clean the house and feed the kids, because they're hungry every day. So I feel like I've been trained. I'm getting a little bit off topic, but mothers are incredibly have a lot of endurance as well, because they have to do things for people outside of themselves. But since their value is only on the kids, yeah, it becomes very stifling. So part of the mother's type development courses, it's really about who am I, and how can I find meaning in what I do, and what's my unique value or unique uh, mission that I can bring to this world, and then to build the endurance to do it. So we work on that a lot, and having different difficult conversations, like after this after this conversation, oh, not conversation, this session, I have to like focus on like what exactly is our method to bring psychological safety, because we have lots of ways, but we haven't learned to articulate it. So being able to articulate and answer questions and engaging in real conversations. Sorry, I know I'm getting off topic, but yeah, things like that. But I think helping mothers with their own understanding of themselves and then developing their type is critical for a healthier family or healthier society. And but in general, Japan tends not to like N kind of stuff, like growth. Yeah, growth. I meet a lot of resistance to that. Like, what's growth? I'm an adult. I'm grown already. I don't need this. So there's an allergy to N type stuff. But I also find that type associations, they have ignored a lot of the S aspects, which is explaining things concretely and with stories. And without the stories, the S's are not going to come along, and then can't change a society with just intuitives. The S's have to come along.
So maybe you're changing Japanese culture one person at a time.
Yes, hopefully. But it hasn't been easy.
And
Yes.
you said earlier that young people love a personality type. Is that similar
Yes.
to what we see in other countries, like the Gen Z are so fond of personality that they even make it their whole identity?
Right. Um, yes, I do find that. I do also find that there are people who are mistyping themselves.
Mm.
Um, um, hmm. Yeah, more and more in cafes or restaurants, I do hear young people telling each other their types. Um, yeah, it's disappointing to me that there's not some. It's just a label, like, oh, okay, and there's no real discussion on what that actually means. Um, so yeah, it is becoming a label. Sorry, Lionel, can you ask that question again, please?
Yeah, my question is that we see in other countries, like in the West,
Yes.
Gen Z really passionate about personality and the 16 types. And my
Okay.
question is really, when you say that young people love personality types, is it the same phenomenon that you're seeing, or is it a bit different, maybe colored by the Japanese culture to some extent?
Right, right. The interesting thing is that there's a new generation now, Generation Alpha
Yeah,
generation. So
after
there's
Z.
already a new generation, yeah. And I've heard them say, "Oh, 16 type, that's so old school." So yes, they did like type, but I see the new generation is not as interested in it. So I feel like the wave is already moving on. Um, so yeah, um, I have been uh, I have been quite concerned. Uh, yeah, so that's why I think it is important to publish books and get in magazines and gain like social credibility in order to ground it. But then also being loyal to the Jungian way, which is, not
Mhm.
just whole letter type, but doing the shadow work. So I do have a lot of hope in that our trainer team, yeah, we have a lot of sensors because I think yeah, they unless even the singles events that we do, it's mostly intuitives. And it's easy to get intuitives to come in, but it's not easy to get the sensors. So what we're doing right now is trying to change the language to bring in more sensors to catch sensors somehow. Yeah, I think that's critical part that we all haven't been able to figure out completely yet, but that's going to be the key.
Okay, thank you. Do we have questions from the audience, from Nicole, Claire, Anne-Marie, Ben, Jean-Luc?
Moi, je me posais des questions. Je suis désolée, j'ai l'impression qu'il y a un écho parce que je comprends que les mères se voient ouvrir un horizon qui leur fait du bien, mais leur mari, est-ce qu'elles en parlent à leur mari? Est-ce que ça peut permettre d'ouvrir aussi les maris à autre chose?
Mm. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Good question. I think that's one of the challenges that we do see. Um, creating real intimacy. There are trainers who aren't having real conversations even with their husbands. Yeah. One time I asked somebody, one of the trainers, like, well, that's your husband's type. What do you think? What do you think he would say? And she's like, oh, he doesn't understand this at all. So it's like, oh, okay. So she knows it intimately, but yes, not talking about that with her husband. So one of the things that we did talk about recently is, there's things that we can do as an organization to spread type, like posting on Instagram, or we're going to do a big event in September. So we're brainstorming different ways to do that. But another thing that I said is that, I'm challenging myself, which is to face your own personal challenges. For example, I'm ENFJ, and my older daughter, who I showed you the picture before, she's INFP, which is my opposing function, right? Her dominant function, introverted feeling is in my shadow. And that is incredibly difficult for me to challenge. But what I'm trying to do right now is, before I talk to her, I have to go, "Oh, be nice." I'll be like, how are you today? Whereas with my husband or my daughter, they're both, ESTP, ISTP. I could just be like, oh, what's going on? Hey, what happened? What? But with my daughter, I can't do that. I have to be like, so I believe that yes, there's things that we can do to help spread type. What is it? Like, um, logistically, or strategies that we can do to make better slides, things like that. We're definitely doing. But another thing we need to do is face our own personal demons. So I did challenge them, you know, what is your personal issue that you should challenge? And I think doing that breaks the ice in the challenges that we find. Sorry, this is a very intuitive speak, but I really think that facing our own personal life demons that we have will help us to become deeper, more real people and to become better trainers. If that's so, yeah, having real conversations with their kids. Yeah, a lot of thinkers that I know, they're embarrassed to show their love, so that, that's a challenge that we are talking about. If that answers your questions, Claire.
Thank you.
Okay. There is one in the chat, Harumi. It's in English.
I was surprised that Japan is a lot more conservative than I thought they were. Why do you think some people mistake Japan as more N than the reality? There might be more. Yeah. Yes, I've noticed like random Instagram posts that has identified Japan as INTJ. I've actually seen that. I think it's I think there's certain parts of Japan, idealized parts, that look introverted, intuitive, like Zen Buddhism, like preserving nature. There are definitely parts like that, but I think in the day to day, yeah, I think like even Takaichi-san, the Prime Minister of Japan, the first Japanese woman Prime Minister, I think she's ENTJ. because there are these very forward-moving people that have made an impact on Japanese society, but I do not think the rest of the society is intuitive. But yeah, so yeah, there are these forward kind of visionary things and people, right? But if you think about this society as a whole, there's a lot of characterization of Japan as being very conformist. Don't you think, Ben?
Okay.
Or like for example, hundreds of years ago, one of the like top leaders of Japan. Oh, yeah. He was ENTJ as well. What was his name? Well, not Oda Nobunaga. Yeah, Oda Nobunaga. His name is Nobunaga Oda, and he was very forward thinking. Ultimately, he was killed by his general, but he was a visionary that wanted to bring Japan forward. And then his predecessor was ENFJ, but then the person after that, whose name is Tokugawa Ieyasu, he's very famous. He is as ISTJ who took that vision and then sealed it. So yeah, again, it's about the vision, and then everyone follows the vision, but then it gets very like rigid and hard. Yeah. SoftBank's founder, the very big Japanese company, SoftBank, Son Masayoshi. I believe he's INTJ, very visionary, but most employees are not like that.
Okay. So do we have any more questions? D'autres questions? No.
Should I show a video that we made? It's a very short video, but
Yeah,
I have it prepared just in case. It's looking inside the refrigerators of the 16 types. It's very short, but let's see. Let me try to get it full screen. Okay. So it's all Japanese, but I think you can get it from the letters. Can you hear the sound?
Yes.
Come on, can you move it over? Let's say it, baby. I know you're on a roll, sweet honey. Let's take it real slow. You know we got what you need, baby. So take it, move it on.
So it was fast moving, so can I just show it one more time?
Are there any energy?
Oops. What happened?
Emails.
Actually, I thought we should show it one more time, but let me see if I can get it out.
Is it something you created or something you found on the internet?
This is something that our Type Lab team made.
Okay, great.
We also do like YouTube Live, things like that.
Can you move it over? Let's say it, baby. I know you're
Okay. Yes, that
So why
is
is the ISFJ fridge almost empty?
Oh, it's interesting. I don't know if anyone has experience with ISFJs, but yeah, that's exactly how my mom, who is ISFJ, that's how her refrigerator looks too.
Mhm.
She doesn't like too much jumble. Like she really wants to keep things plain because I think too much gets her confused. And another thing that I think is really amazing about sensors is when they buy groceries, they a lot of them remember what they have at home. Whereas as an intuitive, I don't remember. So sometimes I'll buy too many carrots, and then they rot. Then my husband, who's a sensor, gets so mad because he's like, "You're wasting food." But I'm like, "But yeah, when my refrigerator, if I buy carrots, I have to put it right in my eyesight. Otherwise, I forget about it. And then my husband moves it, and then so I buy too many carrots." But sensors, they're very aware of what they have. So I find that fascinating. Fascinating
You
NS
just
difference.
you just take a picture of the inside of your fridge before you go buy groceries. So
Oh, yes. Yes. That would be the best thing to do. What about everyone here? What are the types of people here?
me, I'm INFP here.
I'm ENFJ,
Oh, Claire.
as you are.
Oh. Um, what type is France?
Ah, friends. Mm.
I think there is some J because we want to rule everything and have regulations for
Yes,
every
yes.
tiny
Really?
aspect of life. So maybe there is
And
S and J.
maybe,
I would say ES,
yes.
maybe ESFJ. Yeah, because we want other people, to be well, and yeah, maybe ESFJ, but it's just
Really?
Maybe. Mm.
Oh
Mm.
wow. I always thought France was ESTP.
Yes, TP.
For me, I always see French people as quite straight talking, and then, very famous for fashion and food and beauty. So I totally thought ESTP, so I'm kind of shocked.
well, it's just a guess. I'm not saying that's the. I'm
Yes.
sure you can find information online for what it's worth. Yeah. INTP. Jean-Luc, that's your theory that France is INTP?
Well, I would say so because of you know, if you look at debates in France, it's
Mm.
always so
Very
intense.
intellectual. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
intellectual,
yes.
likes theory, likes argumentation, likes
Yes.
to, and one thing I go often in France is that when you make, why do you have so many rules? Because it's such a sport to try to find a way around it.
Mhm.
When I compare the
Right.
laws about training, the regulations about training in France and in Montreal, it's just a different world. In Montreal, it's go and do it. In France, there are so many regulations with the Calliope, the DNA, and so on, that I mean, I have the impression it's because people, they like to find a way around it, find their own way.
Right.
So, and that's why I believe you have so many regulations. So I would guess INTP for that.
Mm.
The lack of theory and the lack of argumentation and trying to have your own logic that
Yeah,
succeeds.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense also. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I
That's
mean,
Maybe.
is it possible that the J is like the J that you saw, for example, is like a stress behavior? Like it's P, but under stress it becomes J. Like as a country.
Possibly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And Yes, I mean, it is possible, for example, that Japan is an intuitive country under stress and behaving like an S. I'm not sure. Yeah. So but yeah. But countries also change as well, right? There with things that happened. But I always thought STP, so that's interesting. What about Nicole?
Moi, je suis INFP. Et j'ai remarqué qu'il y avait beaucoup de personnes qui s'intéressaient au type qui étaient INFP. Mais est-ce que c'est une impression ou est-ce que c'est vraiment ce que je pense?
Je me souviens quand moi j'étais formé par Pierre et Geneviève, et à
Oui.
l'époque ils disaient que 50% des formateurs certifiés étaient soit INFP, soit ENFP. Et c'est
D'accord.
vrai que moi je vois dans mes groupes, ouais, j'ai une surreprésentation d'INFP. Ouais, ouais. Et c'est souvent ceux qui restent en fin de journée pour continuer à discuter, alors que les autres se rentrent chez eux, quoi. Ça, c'est
Ouais.
grand classique.
D'accord.
Mais à la FTP, la majorité des membres sont NF. Alors après, il y a du I, du E,
Ouais.
mais il y a beaucoup la grosse majorité de NF.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yes. I remember watching the video of Dario presenting on the brain scan with the French Association, and there were so many NFs.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And what about the interpreter Philippe?
Yeah, the interpreters prefer to remain in the shadows, you know.
So, oh, really? Oh, okay. Yes. So, um, yeah, I guess especially with personality type, it's like being given permission to be yourself, right? So, when I grew up in the United States, I didn't feel that as much to keep myself bottled in. But I think being in Japan and then having to bottle that in because it's not so socially acceptable, I think I understand what it's like a little bit to be like an INFP, where it's like this is not who I am. I had to put this front on, kind of thing. What do you think, Lionel? You know this.
Well, I think I mean the reason why so many INFPs are interested in type is that one of the lifelong quest for the INFP is who am I? And so
Mm,
since psychological type is so rich and
mm,
you never
mm,
get to the end of it because the more you dig, the more you find things. That's why I mean, there is this fascination.
yeah.
Oui, sûrement. Hmm.
Oh, but that's interesting observation, So the more you dig, the more you find.
Hmm. C'est sûr.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like there's no bottom, right?
Yeah, no bottom. Yeah, the more you dig, the more you find.
Yeah,
I can say it as well. Yeah.
yeah,
About yourself and about type also.
yeah. Right,
Yes.
right.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, when you thought there was like 4 functions, you discovered John Beebe's model who integrates the 8 functions. And then and with the new Jungian psychologist, there are a lot of new interesting theories enriching the original model. So
Yeah,
externally, there are always
yeah,
more things to discover. And internally,
yeah.
of course, the human psyche is infinite. So you can dig, or it's a life,
That's
it's your
excellent.
life's work.
Oh my gosh, that's so excellent because one thing is that often I do meet INFPs or ENFPs who are disappointed to find their type, right? Because they're like, oh, it's like my journey ended. But actually, it's like, oh no, it just started, right?
It's just the start. Yeah, it's just the start.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So that is interesting to probe. Yeah, so it's like actually the more you know about yourself, the more you find.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to use that.
Yeah. Yeah, a metaphor I like to use with my clients, you say,
Mm.
I say that when you know your four-letter type, it's just like when you learn to drive, you know the meaning of the road signs, but that's
Okay.
just the beginning, and then you need to learn how to drive actually, and it's the same with type. Knowing your type is only the first step.
Mm.
Oui.
So the road sign, like learning to drive, you like like the red means stop, and then green.
Yeah,
But
and
then after
the
that is
shape and the
starting to.
color and the symbols on the road signs, you
Mm.
understand it, but it's just the beginning. It doesn't make you able to drive a car yet, knowing that. Same
Yeah.
with type, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Mais tout à l'heure, Harumi disait que sa fille avait été complètement le contraire d'elle-même, qui était ENFJ. L'INFP, c'est pas le contraire, c'est ESTJ le contraire, l'opposé total.
C'est
Non?
son mari.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The yes, yes, TJ, the it's interesting though because yeah. Okay. So ESTJs and INFPs, they both drive me crazy. That's the honest truth. And yet I think even though ESTJs and ENFJs have, very opposite functions, the ESTJ is a TE dominant, and the ENFJ has, the extrovert thinking is the eighth function. So the top two is the bottom two for ENFJ. Um, I think, the reality is that ENFJs behave a lot like ESTJs. I mean, maybe Claire can agree, but we're quite bossy and we want our own way. Right, Lena, you've seen the in charge energy of the ESTJ, right? This is the interaction styles. But yeah, I think ENFJs can be quite bossy, sassy people. And dealing with introverted feeling is often more difficult, more challenging for me than ESTJs. I think that ESTJs can accept my bossiness because they're so bossy. But the challenge that INFPs pose to me um, is very real. And the fact that my daughter was INFP, it's like such a huge homework was dropped into my lap. Um, I don't know. What do you think, Lionel?
I think that maybe what drives you mad with INFPs or ISTPs is that Ps, they have internal decision making, introverted thinking or feeling. And so they don't even need your input for making their own decisions. And maybe that's why it drives you mad, because you want to maybe help them or
Yes.
control them. I mean, it's a fine line. But INFP or INTP, I mean, they know what they want or don't want, and they will follow their own lead. They have an internal compass, and yeah, that's why it can drive the J's around them a little bit mad. Yeah, that's my theory, my observation.
Yes. I think that is correct. Just today, I gave my daughter some golden advice, and she's like, "That's exactly what I do not need." Yeah. What do you think, Nicole, about what about interacting with the ESTP or ISTJ?
Je suis un peu perdue là dans les. Mais faut que je revoie encore beaucoup toutes ces
Oh,
choses-là parce que j'étais assez bonne il y a quelques années et en fait, j'ai
right,
perdu
right.
un peu. Donc, il faut que
Yes.
je me remette à la page. C'est pour ça que je suis là.
Yes. 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 Like, like yeah, yeah, the EJ, like I'm an ENFJ, and the ESTJ. The EJ always wants to be in charge. So it's like a typical manager. And we always, in different ways, we
Oui.
always think we know the right way. And then, as Lionel said, the IP energy has their own internal system of making decisions. So it's like,
Mm.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, being told what to do, which is our way, the ESTJ and ENFJ way of helping, is like absolutely not what they need or want. So every way that I offer help is like exactly the worst thing that I can do. Yeah. So then it's like, oh, then all I can do is just shut up. And then the more I shut up, then the happier they are. So it's like, what? Then I don't even have to be here, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think being with myself, it's like, oh, I definitely wouldn't want to be with an ENFJ. So it is nice to be with IPs as well, because they don't tell me what to do. Yeah. But for example, with ENFP, I feel like they do get along quite well with ESTPs. Like the same, fun. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy together. Kind of thing. Whereas ENFP and ISTJs, the opposite, they do marry. Oh, oh, yeah. But I also see the ENFP having a lot of challenge with their opposing personality. Sorry, I'm becoming very abstract, but I do see a lot of ENFPs struggling with, for example, INFJs who don't want to, explore possibilities. They just like stick with one.
Mhm.
That's often the more of a struggle than let's just try it out, kind of ESTP. Like ESTP and ENFPs, I find them like, let's go out and let's just try it out. Let's have fun. Chaos is okay. Whereas the INFJ is like, no, we're only going to do it this one way and that's it. Kind of thing. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, we have time for maybe one last question or exchange.
I'm thinking about my husband because he often says to me, well, stop of wanting to help people when they don't ask for that.
Yeah. Yes.
Et vous êtes quoi déjà?
ENFJ.
ENFJ.
Harumi. Oui.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I have found it yeah, I think one of my life accomplishments is that I am finally accepting of my husband, who is ISTP. I think ENFJs have incredibly high ideals and do want to help people all the time, and then they get tired. And then once I get tired, what I do exactly is I go straight for my husband and attack him. When it's really because I got tired from helping people. So yeah, very, very high ideal with relationship. But being married to my husband, who is ISTP, it helped me to establish my own independence, not by choice, because normally I would want to hang out with him all the time. But because he needs his freedom and his own time, I have been forced to be happy with hanging out just by myself. And that has been incredibly helpful for my life, actually. It forced me to become independent, but through that, yeah, I don't have to always hang around with people anymore and learn to be happy with myself and enjoy my own time, which has been really good for me personally. So it's not by choice. So I was like forced to grow. What do you think?
That's individuation.
Yeah, because we don't do it by choice. Yeah. One thing that last month, actually, my mother-in-law, who is also INFP, she moved in with us. And I knew that she was going to move in with us for years now. But then I was really scared because there was one point when I did live with her and I really didn't like her. Again, the INFP situation. But I think because of my relationship and experience with my husband, um, it it actually has been so easy to live with my mother-in-law. I'm shocked with my own capacity actually to accept her and to be happy with her too. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was gonna be total hell, but 20 years of my experience with my husband, it's like so amazingly simple. So I feel kind of like my whole marriage was preparing to be able to accept my daughter who is INFP, and then also my mother-in-law who's INFP, and also me. I like me. I like myself. So yeah, it wasn't by choice at all. It was totally hellish, but that experience has helped me to accept myself and to like myself, and then learning to accept my daughter and my mother-in-law, it's a lot easier than I thought it would be because of this training that I didn't want to receive but got. Yeah. And
Il y a un livre à faire. Hmm. C'est le prochain livre, ça. Hein?
oh,
Hmm.
oh,
Comment
yeah.
accepter sa belle-mère?
How to accept your mother-in-law. That would be a
Oh.
hit in bookstores, yeah?
Yes. Accept your husband.
Your husband, yes.
It would be a
Not
good
so
title.
easy. Mm.
Bon.
So yeah, a lot of times I think, I mean, yeah, I think teaching type has hopefully it helps other people, but the person that I'm helping the most is myself because I have to live up to what I teach. Otherwise,
sure.
I can't run a business. So yeah, it's not I definitely wouldn't have chosen this, but I was forced to, and then it turned out somehow. Yeah. But yeah, I think succeeding, yeah, means facing your own personal demons. Yeah. And so one of the best reasons of teaching in my own neighborhood is people see me all the time and is she living up to what she teaches? Yeah. So I've been forced to live up to what I teach, kind of thing. Yes. Whew.
Okay,
Thank you very
that's
much
great.
for being.
Closing words, because we are reaching the end of this presentation. And even though I have a P preference, I have to keep the framework working. So thank you so much, Harumi, for a
Yes, thank you very
fascinating
much.
Thank you,
presentation.
Harumi.
And
Thank
the
you very
Q&A
much.
session was really very rich. And I also want to thank Lucille and Philippe for providing the real-time translation. I know this is really a tough job. I'm sure they did it beautifully. And so you will all be able to listen to the French and English version of the replay. So thank you again. And have a nice rest of the day or a nice evening for Harumi.
Yes, thank you very much.
Ok,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.